morning, Nigeria. I am Samson Balogun, and this is Daybreak Live, right here on Dominion Television, Ibadan. We begin with a claim that has sparked serious conversation across the country. The presidency has dismissed reports that a member of the Aso Rock kitchen staff attempted to poison President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. How did the allegation surface? Why did this spread so quickly? And what does this moment reveal about political tension, rumor, and public trust? This is our Daybreak Gist this morning.
And Amoluwaemi Adelako will also bring you the weather report to help you plan your day, and shortly after, Daybreak News with major national and international development happening in Nigeria and the world at large.
We'll turn our attention to newspaper headlines. The front pages this morning reflect a mix of political scrutiny at home and growing globally. Of course, there are uncertainties around that too. We'll examine the dominant angles and the questions they raise with our analyst for today, Emmanuel Habiola Oladile, an entrepreneur and a public affairs analyst.
And our big story shifts to the international stage. U.S.-Israel attack on Iran. Implications for global security and the world economy. What are the geopolitical stakes? How could this affect oil markets, diplomacy, and economies like Nigeria? Joining us for that conversation is Sam Oko, Deputy Editor at the Nigerian Tribune.
And before we close with the show today, we'll also bring you Trend Watch and we'll spotlight the stories driving conversations across social media and other spaces.
It's a morning of political insight and discussions.
Well, let's get started.
Sure.
Good
morning.
Good morning. Good to be back here.
Right.
It's a brand new week. Of course, there are brand new stories on
Happy
the pages.
New Month.
Happy New Month. And of course, to our esteemed viewers out there.
Right.
But then, a brand new week with brand new stories. Over the week, a lot has happened. But then, let's talk about the presidency. I think for the second time, there are security challenges at the Aso Rock. First, there was an announcement that there was a coup, a rumor, so to say, and then the presidency denied it, all to come back and said, look, there was something like that, and some people have been apprehended and taken to custody. Over the weekend too, there was a scare that a member of the Aso Rock kitchen staff tried to poison the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A few hours later, there was a counter report that there was nothing like that. But then what does this mean for Nigeria as a country?
I think you've been able to link the issue because most Nigerians are trying to link it to that. No, we can still remember when there was a coup plot and then the presidency said there was nothing like that, only to come back and then, and admit mention to Nigerians that indeed, it happened. And so because of that, a lot of Nigerians are asking, are we to trust the presidency on this one? Because we have gotten to a point whereby most Nigerians would rather believe rumors, than believe, the statements released by the presidency because of, their experience, especially with this current administration. But at the end of the day, I think the safety of the president matters, and not just the president now. Every single person who stays around the villa, because I think I've been reading quite a number of headlines recently, especially during this Ramadan period. Some governors, break their fast, alongside the president, and then the president will talk to them, and then they'll break their fast. So now that we've heard rumors about something like this, I don't think the presidency should even neglect it. Yes, they've come out to say it didn't happen, but then I think proper, investigation should be done, because some persons will say, for every rumor, there might be an iota of truth in it. Regardless, it was not true. The president said nothing like that happened. I want to really do proper investigation to ensure that nothing like that will happen. Because even the past coup that were successful and the ones that failed, it started with a rumor. Definitely. And then those that were connected felt they didn't really care much. And then, so as a result, some of them became successful. So at the end of the day, the life of the president and, of course, every single person who stays around the villa is very important. They should, conduct some investigations. And then if you listen to the audio and you watch the video, you can tell that voiceover was not done by, it was done by, is it a professional? A professional, right. Whether a proper broadcaster or maybe a proper voiceover artist. So, and then looking at how the voiceover met so well, I mean, with the video, in the video we saw that, we saw a kitchen scene, and then we saw cars outside that it looked like maybe someone has just been arrested. But at the end of the day, the presidency is saying nothing like that happened. That's a good one. At the end of the day, if you go online yesterday, you see some Nigerians saying, we love our president, nothing must happen, things like that. So at the end of the day, they should do proper investigation to ensure that nothing like that will happen. And let us believe that in the next few weeks or months, no one will come and tell us it did happen,
Right.
honestly.
Well, there are several reasons why the government would, deny something like that, especially when it has to do with national security. Because anyone that tries to poison the president, of course, that person must be really strong and must have strong backing. But then, to prevent public panic, the government might just decide to say, look, anything that has to do with national security and major information like that, let's just assume it didn't happen, just to prevent any form of panic in the country, and also to protect intelligence operations. Sometimes when you want to continue with your investigation, admitting might just put an end to the facts you would get if you continue the investigation. So sometimes, just to make sure that the investigation is not affected, they tend to say, oh, it did not happen. Some people who are actually involved might seem relaxed a little bit until they are caught. So I want to believe that there are several reasons. And also, for political image management, the government might just want to manage the image. Like, how did it get so porous that someone gets into Aso Rock just to poison the president? Or was it that bad that one could be convinced to poison the president? Probably you've been working with the president for a long time, you have been a member of the kitchen cabinet, and then all of a sudden you change your mind, and the next thing to do is to get the president out of the way. That would be, they would want to manage that a little bit so that it doesn't look messy to the outside world. And of course, for economic stability concerns, because if this continues to fly around, it might just distract the country a little bit, and then for you to manage that successfully, denying it might just be the best way to go. Until all investigations are conducted, then you can say, oh, we have apprehended someone, but then all tensions should just go to rest, because there's nothing like that anymore. And we have also screened the rest of the members of the team that such does not repeat itself. And lastly, for diplomatic sensitivity, because we have seen it happen in recent times, and of course in the past, where even issues like this are sponsored by outside world. Okay, it could happen that for political reasons, some things are to be done, and then one way or the other, even if from the outside world you are to be attacked, there has to be the footprint of someone from within. Some of them are recruited, some are double agents, and they live amongst us. There is no way you would know that. So the government might just look at it in a way that, let's just keep it under wraps a little bit and do some more investigation. I'm quite sure that if there was a scare of such magnitude, the DSS will be on top of their games at this time. And of course, they'll be working in collaboration with security agencies assigned to the Aso Rock to see that they nip this in the bud and it doesn't get out of hand. But above all, I still believe that one way or the other, let me just link this back a little bit to what happened to the NSA recently. The National Security Advisor, No Ribadu, and when Malam Nasir El-Rufai came on board on a national television to say his conversations were tapped, and then he got a wimp of the fact that he was to be arrested. That, for me, if I'm going to link it, I think the Aso Rock is a little bit porous, and the security architecture in the country they should wake up a little bit. I was talking about the fact that there could be end-to-end encryption when it comes to telephone conversations between anyone that has key access and clearances to top information, redacted information that an average Nigerian would not have, and someone at the lower cadre in the security agencies would not have. So if that is the case, there should be end-to-end encryption that, we won't have such repeated cases of, phone conversations being tapped, there's a coup attempt. I think they should sniff this from afar and then put it to rest before it becomes a scare, just like we are seeing right now.
Yeah, I think you're very spot on. And then, so if the security system of Aso Rock is porous, so I think it's a reflection
the fate of someone like you and
the national,
the street,
exactly. It's a reflection of the national security system, because I mean, the security system of White House, for instance, will always be the reflection of the entire country.
Right.
So that means that we need to do more, even for Aso Rock. So at the end of the day, just like you mentioned, maybe the presidency felt, we need to douse tension. We don't want any other person or maybe outside world, especially with what is going on in the global space now. Look at what is going on with US and Iran, Israel, and of course the Maduro case too. That is quite recent. So maybe that's the reason why. And I think that's a very good point. However, I think the reasons why a lot of Nigerians are finding it difficult difficult to believe this is simply because of the things that have happened in the past. You know, let's also talk about the fact that even politicians, sometimes when they say some things and then maybe their relatives or their friends, and then people who were there can testify. There was a recent case, a recent one, and then the person came back to say that I was not the one that said that. You know, it's AI-generated video. And people who were there as newsmen, they confirmed that she said what she said. So these are the issues. I think that's why Nigerians are being skeptical a little bit to say, can we really trust, you know, the statement of the president? At the end of the day, we need to trust them, because if they say that the president is safe and nothing like that happened, we need to trust them. We don't know why they did that. But then one important thing is, can they trace that that voiceover? Where did it come from? Someone would have made videos
Who
of...
voiced it?
Exactly. Someone would have made videos of the outside scene, the kitchen scene. You know, this, just like you mentioned, these are people that work, you know, in the Asorok in certain places. So they need to trace all of those things. That's what I feel, right?
Well, also, one of the things I think is the reason why there will be a denial is that usually the government would want to control the narrative. Okay, they want to tell their story their own way, especially in a centralized system of government like Nigeria's. They would want to be the ones to say, oh, this is what happened and this is how it happened. So they can easily say it's an isolated case and not a national truth. And it's actually the best thing to do in some cases. Because it might just bring unrest in the country. Some people are not even sure where their faith is when the president is being threatened, and then what will happen to average Nigerians on the street. So these are major cases and reasons why this would happen. But now it has been pinned down to the fact that there's nothing like that. Nigerians will want to believe there's nothing like that. But the only thing that has to do with trust, especially when it gets to a stage where people no longer trust the government, is you say, oh, this did not happen. And all of a sudden there's a turnaround and say, yes, it happened, but then we have controlled it. It's just an isolated case. It cannot repeat itself. And then over and over again, people are beginning to doubt everything that comes out of Asorok, because they feel like, oh, you said this the other time, and then you are saying something else this time around. So can we begin to have that kind of situation where you would understand, oh, yes, the government actually means business. And when we talk about meaning business, everything that comes out of Asorok, especially in terms of information, is genuine. And
of course, now that election is getting closer, I think the security must be worked on, just like you mentioned, because we really cannot tell. You know, at the end of the day, this is Nigeria. There was a time, and now, thank God I can remember this now. There was a time that, you know, some maybe bandits or terrorists now, they said they are going to attack Asorok.
Right.
And at the end of the day, some Nigerians were even catching.
They have even gone to rest a little bit. There was a time where there were a series of TikTok videos. They were going live on TikTok. And I don't know what is going on at this time, because it became so rampant at that time. They were live on TikTok making some threats, and someone was there to say that they were going to attack Asorok. And then someone gave me an instant and said, look, if they said they are going to attack Asorok, don't just say you want to sweep it under the carpet, because it might just happen. The reason being that there was a time they went to Kuje prison in Abuja, and then they broke into the prison, and some people were actually, they escaped.
Kuje is very close to Asorok.
Very close.
So if they could do that, you know, with the tight security in Kuje prison, you know, what tells you that they don't have the capacity to actually attack Asorok? So that's why I'm trying to say that at the end of the day, the security operatives around Asorok, they must ensure, exactly, they must be on top of their game to ensure that nothing will happen, not just to the president now, but those who also stay there. I mean, the wife of the president is there. There are other politicians who might just go there. Just like I mentioned, most of these, you know, governors, they go there to break their fast in the evening. These people, you know, they must be safe in their own country. And of course, to Nigerians as well, because some are already asking questions to say, you know, if there is a rumor around that, you know, what happens to, you know, a commoner or everyday Nigerians? I think at the end of the day, you know, we just need to make sure that we are safe. And of course, you know, do not go to places that can actually, you know, affect your safety, really.
All right, I think that will be the convenient place to put that topic to rest today. We'll do all that. Security operatives at the Asorok are on top of their games at this time, and of course, we don't have a repeat of this in the future. It is time to take weather report on this show this morning, and that is where we help you plan your day so you know exactly what to do. All right, we'll be starting with the ancient city of Ibadan. And as it stands in Ibadan today, weather currently feels like 26 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, there will be a rise by 4 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. It is expected to be partly cloudy with humidity around 1%. And by afternoon, it will rise further to 36 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, humidity at 2%. And there will be a drastic drop to 28 degrees Celsius in the evening, expected to be partly cloudy and humidity at 4%. And by overnight, it will drop to 25 degrees Celsius again. And it is expected to be partly cloudy with humidity at 3%.
Okay, let's take it to Abeokuta South, Ogun. Weather feels like 30 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around still 30 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 2%. In the afternoon, 36 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%. And in the evening, 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And overnight, 26 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 3%. And that's what we have for Ogun, Abeokuta this morning.
Okay, moving on. Yemi will be the lead on this one this morning. Of course, she navigates. And with us to another southwestern state, I think that will be Kwara this morning. Weather in Kwara State, and that is Ilorin. As it stands, it's currently at 23 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. It is expected to rise to 29 degrees Celsius later in the morning, remaining partly cloudy to humidity at 1%. It will rise sharply to 37 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. It will remain partly cloudy and humidity at 0%. But there will be a drop to 30 degrees Celsius in the evening, partly cloudy. And overnight, it will drop further to 25 degrees Celsius, also partly cloudy, with humidity expected to be around 1% right there in Ilorin, Kwara State today.
Okay, let's take you to Lagos. Weather feels like 32 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 29 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 5%, and in the afternoon, 31 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 3%, and in the evening, 29 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%, and overnight, 27 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 3%, and that's what we have for Lagos this morning. We take it to ABJ later. Or let's take Suleja.
Okay, let's take the largest state in Nigeria as it stands. That is Suleja in Niger State. Weather is currently fair at 22 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning, it will rise by 8 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. It is expected to be sunny and humidity at 0%. It will rise further to 36 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy in the afternoon. By evening, it will drop drastically to 27 degrees Celsius, expected to be partly cloudy. And by night, it will drop to 24 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, humidity at 0% all through in Suleja, Niger State today.
Okay, let's cross to ABJ, FCT this morning. Weather feels like 22 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny around 0%. In the afternoon, 35 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny around 0%. And in the evening, it drops to 27 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And overnight, 23 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 0%. And that's what we are for FCT this morning.
All right, moving on, let's take this one from Kano Municipal this morning. It currently feels like 15 degrees Celsius right there. But then there will be a sharp rise to 24 degrees Celsius later in the morning, expected to be mostly sunny. And it will be partly cloudy in the afternoon with a rise to 32 degrees Celsius. And by evening, it will drop to 24 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy right there in Kano. And overnight, it is expected to be clear. And weather is expected to be around 18 degrees Celsius right there in Kano today.
Okay, let's take it to Maiduguri, Borno. Weather feels like 17 degrees Celsius. And later in the morning is expected to be around 27 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0%. In the afternoon, 33 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the evening, 24 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 0%. And overnight, it drops to 19 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%.
All right, taking it to Kaduna this morning. Weather currently feels like 19 degrees Celsius in Kaduna. But then it will rise to 27 degrees Celsius later in the morning, partly cloudy, humidity at 0%. And by afternoon, it will rise to 34 degrees Celsius. That's a huge rise to 34 degrees Celsius right there, partly cloudy. And by evening, it will drop back to 25 degrees Celsius, mostly clear. And overnight, it will drop to 20 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, with humidity expected to be at 0% all through in Kaduna today. Okay,
let's take you to Cross River this morning. Weather feels like 22 degrees Celsius. And of course, in the morning is expected to remain at 30 degrees Celsius, sunny around 0%. In the afternoon, 36 degrees Celsius, mostly sunny around 0%. And in the evening, 27 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. And overnight, 24 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 0%.
All right, lastly on weather report this morning, another southwestern state, that is Ekiti southwest this morning. Weather currently feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and it will rise by 5 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius, expected to be mostly sunny with humidity at 1% later in the morning. And by afternoon, there will be a rise by 6 degrees Celsius to 34 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. Overnight, of course, in the evening, it will drop to 26 degrees Celsius, remaining partly cloudy right there, humidity at 2%. And it will drop further to 23 degrees Celsius overnight, mostly cloudy, with humidity at 3% in Ekiti southwest today. And that will be all we can take on weather report this morning. So thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do well to link up with us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast and our Facebook page at Dominion Broadcast Television. All right, it is time to go on a short break. And when we return, we take the news. We'll be back.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live? Like never before. Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram at Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Hello and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakon. The Nigeria Police Force has reassured Nigerians of heightened security amid rising tensions in the Middle East. In a statement, Force Public Relations Officer Benjamin Dane said Acting Inspector General of Police Olatunde Disu has directed commissioners of police across the 36 states and the FCT to intensify surveillance and intelligence gathering. The police say security has been strengthened around worship centers and public spaces, particularly in the northwest, northeast, and north central zones. The force warned that Nigeria will not serve as a theater for foreign conflict and urged citizens to remain calm and report suspicious activities. The move follows reported U.S.-Israeli strikes in Iran and subsequent retaliatory attacks across parts of the Gulf region. Meanwhile, at least 15 civilians have been killed following a coordinated attack by the Sadiko faction of Boko Haram on 3 villages in Bongo, local government area of Niger State. The development was disclosed by security analyst Bakasain, who shared details via his ex-handle. The assault, which occurred late Saturday night, reportedly targeted Tashan Made, Saduru and Rutua communities all on the Malali ward. According to local sources, the armed men stormed the villages and opened fire on residents, causing panic and chaos. Authorities are yet to issue an official statement on the incident as of the time of filing this report. Now to electoral matters, the African Democratic Congress has launched free nationwide online mentorship registration ahead of the 2027 general elections. In a statement, National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi urged existing members to update their record in line with the Electoral Act 2026 and guidelines of the Independent National Electoral Commission. INEC had earlier scheduled the 2027 presidential and National Assembly elections for February 20, 2027, but later revised the date following concerns that they clashed with Ramadan. Under the new timetable, presidential and National Assembly elections will hold January 16, 2027, while governorship and state assembly polls are set for February 6, 2027. Political parties are expected to submit a comprehensive digital membership register by April 2, 2026. The Lagos State Ministry of Transportation has announced a traffic diversion plan ahead of the reconstruction and expansion of Ogunusi Road in Ikeja. Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Osiyemi, said Phase 1 of the project will cover a 4.5-kilometer stretch from Ojudubega bus stop to Mobi filling station. Ajayi Agege bound. The project, handed by the Federal Ministry of Works as part of a 9-kilometer dual carriageway upgrade and will begin March 6, 2026. Authorities say there will be no vehicular access within the construction zone. Motorists heading toward Ajayi Agege will be diverted to a 1-kilometer contraflow before rejoining the main carriageway. Residents have been advised to plan their movement accordingly. In business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has said that efforts are underway to attract investors ahead of the expected first gas delivery from the Ajaokuta-Gwagwalada segment of the AKK pipeline by July 2026. The AKK project linking Ajaokuta, Kaduna and Kano is aimed at boosting domestic gas supply, power generation and industrial growth across northern Nigeria. At a stakeholders workshop in Abuja, NNPC urged investors to explore opportunities in compressed natural gas infrastructure, declaring that Nigeria has shifted from an oil-focused economy to a gas-first nation. The workshop focused on proposed mini LNG and LCNG projects expected to drive gas commercialization and energy transition efforts. And in sport, former Liverpool forward Risola Babajide has said she switched international allegiance from England to Nigeria to fulfill her dream of playing at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Born in London, Babajide represented England at youth levels and was part of the Young Lionesses squad that won bronze at the 2018 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. She later received clearance to play for Nigeria and made her senior debut for the Super Falcons in 2023 during an Olympic qualifier against Ethiopia. Babajide went on to win the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations with Nigeria, describing lifting the trophy in her first major tournament as the proudest moment of her career. The Roma forward also said that she hopes to represent Nigeria at the Olympic Games and the FIFA Women's World Cup. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. That's the breaking news. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako saying thank you for watching and good morning.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Cast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. This is Newspaper Headlines and Analysis. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako. Of course, I'm not alone in the studio. I have with me Emmanuel Oladele Abiola. Welcome on board this morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Let's start with New Telegraph. I have the banner headline that says Iran war. IGP orders heightened security, surveillance nationwide. And if I can read, some of the riders here saying ex-president Ahmadinejad, 3 U.S. soldiers and 9 Israelis, many of those killed as Islamic State continues fighting. Basically, let's just talk about this now, because some Nigerians are saying it doesn't really concern us, why some are even protesting, especially with this whole, strike, concerning Iran. And of course, the U.S. and Israel, doing this to Iran. And of course, I think Iran is also doing quite a number of things that is affecting some other countries. Now, IDP is saying we need to tighten our security. Really, are we supposed to be that heightened? Or do you think it's necessary is it necessary for us to do this at this time?
Yes, we are putting, I really respect what the IGP is doing at this moment. He's putting enough measures in place. You are better prepared than not being prepared. So the thing with the Iran war is that Iran has proxy fighters.
Okay.
Now, what Iran is, if you notice Iran's retaliation, Iran has not retaliated against the United States, the land.
Okay.
But has been retaliating against interest of the United States. Those are two different things. Things that are of interest to United States, which affect them, but not their own soil. So now, in Nigeria, US already has an interest. The US has deployed some troops to Nigeria.
Okay.
US has some major interests, key factories and other things in Nigeria. Now, what Iran is doing is that Iran has in place proxy fighters. Proxy fighters in the sense that you will notice that Iran sometimes do not fight its wars, but here the Houthis, the
Hezbollah.
Thank you, Hezbollah. You hear the ISWAP, all these people fighting war for Iran. They are proxy fighters. So in Nigeria we have ISWAP, we have Boko Haram, we have also all other. Now they might be recruited by Iran to carry out their own aims and objectives against the United States in Nigeria. So you notice that this war goes a long way. This war is not really just between Iran and US or Israel. There are so many factors in place. So yes, it's a commendable one for the police force to put enough measures in place.
Okay, just before we conclude this Iran case now,
Yeah.
don't you think, because I want to speak for some persons now, not just Nigerians alone, even Americans, especially Kamala Harris. She says something that Trump should not have done that to Iran. That is a violation of territorial integrity, really.
Yeah, let me say something about that's just politics. Okay. Why? Kamala Harris is a Democrat. Obama was a Democrat. When Obama started war on terror, nobody raised anything. Nobody raised any bat. Nobody batted an eye in his party. That is the Democrats. So when Kamala coming out now to condemn Trump, it's just to me, it's just politics. So I wouldn't say Trump got it right 100%.
Okay.
But he did something that was decisive. They did something in June, July last year. Okay. Now they are doing something in complement of that.
Okay.
And if things like this are not put in place, you've heard of what is happening in Iran, how the Iran students are being killed, the protests are being curbed and all. Do you get? So you can't say violation of human rights should continue, and a country that can stop it should also remain dormant. No. So to me, it's just a cry that she's a
politics. Really?
Yeah, she's a crybaby.
Okay, still taking headlines from New Telegraph. Let's check this one that says ADC begins free online membership registration. Leadership not just about winning elections, and that's coming from Obi. Do you think ADC is starting a bit late? Because, I mean, they took some time to actually solve the you can't come to our party, and now they are just, starting to open online registration. When APC, the party they want to kick out, come next year, I've gone far with all this, campaigning, they've got bosses and things like that. Do you think ADC is starting a little bit, too late?
Yeah, a bit not too late, a bit late.
Okay.
However, I have someone who tells me that whenever you wake up is your morning. So I guess it's their morning, and now at the moment, what they are just trying to do is rally around, put things in place, put structure, follow principles, because now the Electoral Act has actually emphatically stated that any political party that does not have an online registry and a manual registry will not be able to field a candidate. Okay. So what they are trying to actually do now is compliance. However, yeah, it's late, but it's something they can still catch up on. You see APC already has an initiative, Renewed Hope Alliance and all.
City Boy Movement.
They have things. See,
but there's the Village Boy Movement too. From the APC camp. I'm being serious right now.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but the APC is far gone. Okay. But ADC can just try to catch up. And let's see, politics, sometimes you might think politics is predictable. Okay. Look at what happened in the last election. Peter Obi and LP came in with force or just a little, just remained so little for him to just overtake that race. However, we all knew that was not going to anyway. But all things being fair and equal, he would have. So that's something for you to consider that. Well, you might try that again. You might bring that comeback, but APC is far gone. And it's not too late. They still have some months. Okay,
you said, he would have won the election. But then most persons said that, most of the supporters of Peter Obi in that last election, they were voting online. They didn't even step out of their room to vote. Some of them were playing ball on that particular day.
I think I was in a polling unit that day, and actually, I won't use my polling unit to judge because it's just 1 out of like 1 million. Okay. But I saw a few turnout, and something about the youth in Nigeria is that you see at the NSAS period, we are more active online than doing. So, yeah, it's a funny thing that people voted online but didn't actually go to the polling unit to vote. So,
all right. Okay, yeah. Still talking about the ADC coalition. Something happened last week. Some South-South, members actually confirmed Amechi. They're saying we're going to support Amechi. And at the end of the day, I think Atiku came out to say, no, don't even believe in that. So it looks like there's trouble within the ADC as we speak now. Because if the region came out to support Amechi's bid for presidential election, and then some members of the ADC and their friends are coming out to say, don't mind that, don't mind the South people, don't mind them coming out to say we're going to support him. We've not even determined who is going to be the flag bearer of the party. Is there a war looming, for the ADC? Because Amechi now says something. He said, opposition, is really the problem of Nigeria, not APC or Tinubu.
You see, Amechi, anywhere he goes, trouble follows. So I think that was what Atiku was trying to stop. when he said, no, we are not going to field this guy. That's what Atiku is trying to stop. However, you see, Amechi, to me, honestly,
Okay.
I would not say he's not a qualified candidate.
Okay.
But at the moment, he doesn't have the force. He only has the force from the South. So the only thing the party can do is just negotiate with the South and say,
Okay.
this is what we are bringing to the table. We will offer you this when we enter, the race ends. So Amechi is not qualified. To me, he's not qualified. He doesn't have the northern support. To win a presidential election, you have to win the whole 3 zones. He only has the South. South is just a part of Southwest, in quotes. Sorry, the southern part of Nigeria. South is just a part. So if he only has a portion of a portion, it's still not good. So we need someone like Atiku who has portions in all the zones. So the only thing they can do is negotiation and coalition with him and negotiate with him.
What
And I'm
about
sure-
VP slot? You think he's going to take it?
Obi is there, Atiku is there.
Obi said he's not going to become VP to anyone.
That's what I'm saying. Obi is there. Obi wants to run as as for presidency.
Okay.
He indirectly he won't be able to pick Amechi for VP because they are the southern region. Notice that I said they are in 3 zones, so he won't likely be able to. So Atiku too can be VP. He can't. He has been it once. He has vied for presidency a lot of time, and he's not winning yet. So he wants to try his luck again. That is if he goes actually.
Okay.
But I don't see Amechi. Someone picking Amechi as VP, that might be a long shot. But Amechi as presidential candidate, don't see it.
You don't see it coming. Let's cross over to Daily Trust and check this headline that says, we may not be able to achieve 100% perfect election. That's coming from Amupeton. And I tried to read the story. I think I read about 2 headlines, and then he was trying to say that, okay, they've been able to do a test run with the FCT polls, and then he discovered that the major problem might not even be network, but logistics. He said at the time, it's a particular ward in, I think, Kabana. He said that they could not hear from the people over there, so they had to send some other persons, to ensure that they are safe, and then they could not hear from them, so they had to transmit the result the next day. So how do we tackle issues of logistics now? Because this is a big election compared to the FCT.
Yeah, with the issue of logistics, they have enough time to put those things in place. Now, we have at least, let's say nothing, we have 6 months. I'm just assuming, which you have much more. If you have 6 months, it's enough planning for you to say, within 1 month, we are acquiring these stuff, these gadgets. Within the next 2 months, we are dispersing them, we are distributing them. Within the next 3 months, we are training staff on it. Within the next 4 months, we are putting things in place. It's just planning. To me, I see it as an excuse to not be efficient. However, I get his concern too. The INEC of today might not be 100% ready for 100% real-time transmission of election results. However, like he said, this was a test run. A test run does not mean the outcome will be like this. A test run is for you to see what's happening, which areas are you lacking in, and what can you develop on. So they've seen some issues. Actually, I will commend them on the electronic votes and how they're progressing on that aspect. Good one from them. But they can do better, and they know they can do better, and they have enough resources, they have time. So a lot of things are in place for them to do better.
Okay, so he also said that no one would have thought that a place like Abuja, network would not work in certain places. So if something like that can happen in Abuja, what then can we say about those core, those interior parts, let's say Ibadan now, or maybe Oyo? How do we tackle that? Because he now said that is the reason why the Senate decided to pass, both, electronic and manual. It's like a proviso. So if one should fail, they can easily go back to the next.
Yeah, at this stage, I understand the 2 provisos, the manual and electronic. However, there's something satellite. Satellite cannot be, transmission of election through satellite cannot be a very big issue. Nigeria, I should believe that Nigeria has satellites in the space enough for us to do some things. And if normal network connections can't go through, satellite connections can go through. So your devices are to be linked with the satellite. You can go to a deep bush, a deep forest. Satellite will still access you. So for me, that's one of the solutions to bring to the table. So yeah, some areas are bad, networks are bad in some areas, we understand that. However, if we can't get 100%, let's get 90%.
Okay, so I think it's a fine place to leave that. We'll revisit that conversation after the general elections. Because he has said to us that we should not expect 100%, but at least we should expect
90.
like 90. I was even going to say 80.
80 is too low.
Okay, 90.
90.
No problem. Still taking headlines from Daily Trust. Let's check this one that says banditry over 300,000 displaced in Niger. That's coming from Bago. Terrorists kill 15 in fresh attacks. I don't know if you've watched a particular video. A certain military man said that, yes, the terrorists, the bandits, they are doing a lot, but then they are still our brothers. And of course, if there's a window to rehabilitate them, we really should take it. What do you make of that in connection to these, high numbers, 300,000 in Niger alone? There's Benue, there's Kwara. Look at these places, and then we keep having, much more numbers, every day. It's alarming, really. Yeah,
it is. And talk of they are our brothers. No, they are not. Your brother will not hurt you. The Bible says, do unto your neighbor as you would want them to do to you. So if a person is killing his neighbor, you can't call him your brother. In fact, it's a big infatuation on the part of whoever made that video.
Okay.
However, the way personally, I have a measure of curbing and bringing enough sanction on these guys, but it's not something that can help publicly. It might be a bit out of touch. But what I would say is that the video is out of place totally. And you imagine, that's just a part. 3,000 plus people are displaced. That's just a part of the larger picture. So you can't say what they're doing is right, or even if you say it's not right, but you can't say there's something to hope for to be rehabilitated. I be sure that there was a time when I think Yaradua regime or Jonathan regime that some bandits were granted amnesty or something, and then they were let go, sent abroad to study. Personally, I believe that most of them are back in it because they can't be thriving this much if they've not strategized enough. So one of the things terrorists do is that when they travel abroad, they get more radicalized and they get educated, so they get strategic. So you might think, oh, we rehabilitated them, we sent them abroad for studies, but who did they meet abroad? The jihadist network is so large that it's beyond a nation, it's beyond a continent. So them saying that we should not, these people still perpetrating the evil, we should not rehabilitate them. I don't see it as the viable option at all. In fact, if you are doing that, you are encouraging others to continue because there's a solution for you when you are done. So it's a bad one.
Okay, let's also talk about, someone even mentioned this, and then I think it's something to really discuss that before you actually take up to 3 or 5 million into your account, you must do certain things like Face ID and things like that. So these bandits, they receive millions of naira, sometimes even billions. So how is it so difficult to use certain information to track these people? Is it still because they are our brothers?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, that is very... okay, I was reading something on Twitter this morning. It said that NIA, Nigerian Intelligence Agency, is very active. US has CIA, Israel's Mossad, Russia's FSB and the like. Nigeria, what does Nigeria, NIA? They say, Nigeria is very effective, NIA is very active, they tap phones and all. But can they tap these terrorist phones? Can they track these terrorists? Someone replied, it's political, and I agree totally. It's political. Now, terrorists transfer funds through cryptocurrency, online payments, wallet, and all the likes. Now, you cannot tell me that they can't be tracked. I've seen live examples, I've seen live scenarios where government have tracked crypto payments. They tell you that blockchain is free, cannot be tracked. Right. I would say that's a lie to an extent. I've seen government track it. So any financial transaction, any form, even if you are not paying in cash or you are not paying in monetary form, any form of financial transaction can be tracked. So Nigeria deciding not to do shows a part of negligence and a part of contributory negligence. A time US came out at a point in time saying that this Kwankwaso or someone in the north was supporting terrorism. If a big stakeholder is doing that, you can't expect it to stop.
It was debunked actually.
Yeah, it was debunked, but I would want to say that the US has an image that they won't just publish a news that is unfounded and ungrounded. I want to be. It might not just be that maybe a bit of lies there, but they won't publish something of that of that size, magnitude, and just lie about it. No, so I believe there's a high measure of truth in what they've done, and if people like that are involved in it, I don't see any solution coming soon. So there will be war on banditry, war on terrorism, but it won't measure up a lot.
Okay, so talking about security now, let's go to the Punch newspaper. I have this headline that says Tinubu convenes police council today to confirm a DSU. I think that's something to talk about, and I think recently there's been discussions about state policing. It will help us at the end of the day. So how do you think we can achieve this now? Because some persons are saying at the end of the day, some state governors might not be able to pull this off if at the end of the day they pass the bill successfully for state policing.
State policing at the moment, I won't support state policing.
Why?
Because of control. However, I will support state policing because of money, resources.
Okay.
Because the only person funding the Nigerian police force is the federal government. So that means there's a limited resources for effective delivery of service. But if there are state policies all around, each state has control, which I don't like, and has enough resources to cater for it. Shey Makinde was responding to the federal government recently and saying that Amotekun will not be federalized. And I support that. However, why? I support that because we've seen Amotekun has been used almost effectively, even though maybe they can't attain 100% efficiency. But we've seen a bit that state control is not there yet, which might actually be on the long run. So bringing it back to the police force, state policing is a good thing, actually. It's a good initiative. But my concern is that some state agents, some state bodies, we manipulate this, take it into control. Look, for example, the northern part of Nigeria, we've seen some state agencies, state security agencies, apparatus, that are being controlled by the state itself and manipulated for its purpose. I won't want to mention names because North is very rigged with criticisms and all this. But look, if you take the North scenario and apply it to the other part of the state, I won't really support it. State is not controlling the police force, but we know what they are using them to do. We know what they are using them to perpetrate. So now talk less of them having legal backing to control. That would be a bad one for us.
But don't you think we should weigh our options? So if we can weigh the option, let's say that the merits outweighs the demerits now. Is this something that we can still achieve?
I still don't see it, because what more do you want the police to do that they are not doing?
But then the defense of some persons is to say that if you achieve state policing, these people, they understand the nooks and crannies of their environment compared to when you bring someone from Adamawa to your state.
No, that's not, for me, that's not logical. If you bring someone from Adamawa to the Nigerian police, let's say the one closer to us, a police station closer to us here, he won't come as a cadet, he won't come as a sergeant. Most of the time, they come as DPOs, high-ranking officers. So you have all these cadets, you have all these sergeants, you have all these corporal. They are the ones who know the nooks. They are the intelligence officers. So all these top brass, they don't. In fact, they sit in the office. Even though he's from Oyo State, he will sit in his office. He won't go out. So the real guys putting in the work, actually from here, even though not always from here, they actually know the nooks and crannies. For me, the solution I'll propose is that the NSCDC should be tapped. NSCDC is a dog lying there, doing nothing. No, not nothing, but not doing so much. NSCD wields arms. NSCDC is trained. NSCDC is trained enough to carry out intelligence operations. So, but they are not being used. The only place I've seen them being used in Oyo State, for example, is Operation Bust. You only see one person in a unit, or 1 to 5 persons in a unit, which is still not enough. So NSCDC is something that can be tapped, but we are not tapping it. I just imagine you are paying them salaries, you are training them, but you are not using them. NSCDC is just there doing nothing, while your police force is being overworked.
Okay, so now that Tinubu is said to formally confirm to the DSU as the new IGP, what would be your advice to him now? Because there's a new sheriff coming into office now. What would be your advice to him? What are the loopholes that were open in the last I don't want to say regime now that were open, and how can he close them?
Command. Yeah, the last command. I would, like I said, sometimes I can actually be an apologist for the police force, because most of the time it's not their fault. Look at them just yesterday, an attack was run against 3 forward bases of the military, and they said some terrorists were neutralized, while one major was killed, and no. you won't say they did anything wrong. They did their job. So when the police force is combating all these actions, all these crimes and all, see, personally, it's not the command, it's the government. If the government gives the command enough room to play its game, they will play their game. Nigeria, I was surprised to see the intelligence capability of the Nigerian police force at the time, and I was shocked that, so you can investigate matters in this way. Wow. So it's not about, yes, the command might bring initiatives. This was a fresh blood in the sense that it's coming in as is coming in. It's new to the post. So if we have initiative, if it doesn't have initiative, I'll be disappointed. So I hope that when it comes up with these initiatives, you will be able to project more and move further the war on crime and all. But like I said, it's not really the command; it's the government. If the government gives them the enough room to play their game, they will.
Okay, so let's cross over to another issue. Now, I'm sure you must have seen the video as well. There was a report, a video, was circulating online yesterday that, a particular chef, wanted to poison the president. And of course, Bayo Nonuga, he still died yesterday, posted the video and then, tweeted that do not, believe in this fake news and no one tried to do that. And of course, the president is safe. But Nigerians are finding it difficult to believe that statement, especially because we've seen cases like that in the past where something was denied and at the end of the day, it became the truth, really.
Yeah, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I would want to think there might be a bit of truth in that news. However, the presidency coming out to deny might also be a thing to consider. The way they denied it was very harsh. You will notice that they really came against it. They were saying, the government, the governor, the president is not at risk and all.
Okay.
But two things might be in place now to balance the whole situation. Two things might be in place. It might be the works of propagandists who are trying to just bring some level of discomfort, some level of distrust to the presidency. So it might be the opposition trying to play a game against the presidency. Why it might be so true that the presidency at this stage is running for another election. So he's scared of his own life, scared of his own ambition. So try to deny it. So that's why I said I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I see those two things in place. However, we don't have enough information to support one and deny the other. So it might be that some propagandists are trying to play some things to put distrust in the presidency, because if the presidency's own kitchen, if his kitchen is an issue, that means that says a lot about the whole of his own candidacy. So that might be a factor, but he might also be protecting his interests, and it might not be true. So I won't want to say much about the situation, actually. That's what I'm trying to
I think I understand you perfectly, and I think it's a fine place to leave it. At the end of the day, the presidency came out to say nothing like that happened, so let's just believe it didn't happen. And
exactly.
Then the most important thing is that the president and, of course, safe. Every other person, are also safe. A big thanks to you, Emmanuel Abiola Ladele, for being a part of this segment, and of course, to the audience, thank you so much. We need to take a short break, and when we resume, we move on to Big Story. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakun. Please stay with us.
Live from the heart of the action. Welcome to the nerve center of Next Level Broadcasting.
This is the OB van, where the studio meets the street.
Equipped with cutting-edge cameras, crystal clear audio, real-time switching, and broadcast control, we don't just capture moments, we deliver the experience live.
Anywhere, anytime, from stadiums to red carpets, breaking news to buzzing festivals, weddings, birthdays, and all sorts of ceremonies. We bring the world to your screen in real time.
It's not just a van, it's a complete mobile production house, a command center, a broadcast beast.
This is more than a broadcast. This is the OB Van difference. Live, loud, limitless.
Ready to go live like never before? Book the OB van today and take your event to the world. One powerful broadcast at a time.
To book, call 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Email marketing@dominion.org.ng or visit our socials on Instagram @Dominion Broadcast.
Dominion Broadcast, your channel of choice.
Welcome to The Big Story, where we break down the world's most critical developments with insight, clarity, and context. I am Samson Balogun, and today we are joined by Sam Nwoko, Deputy Editor of the Nigerian Tribune. The global landscape has been profoundly shaken by recent joint military strikes by the United States and Israel on targets inside Iran. What began as a strategic military operation has rapidly escalated into a geopolitical flashpoint with far-reaching implications, not just for the Middle East, but for global security and world economy at large. From rising oil prices to diplomatic tensions, supply chain uncertainty, and economic shockwaves felt from Asia to Africa and beyond. This is a story that affects everyone. So today we unpack what this conflict means not only for regional stability, but also for global markets, diplomatic alliances, and international peace. Issues at the heart of today's big story. Now, the military offensive by the United States and Israel against Iran, widely described as one of the most serious escalations in recent years, has transformed long-standing tensions into open conflict. These strikes, which included attacks on strategic facilities and were followed by swift Iranian retaliation, have thrust the world into a new phase of geopolitical uncertainty. At the center of this crisis is the Strait of Hormuz, a passage through which roughly 20% of the world's oil supply is transported each day. Disruptions here have already led to sharp increases in oil prices, contributing to inflationary pressures and fears of broader economic instability. Economists warn that sustained supply concerns could add significant pressure to global inflation and slow economic growth. But beyond energy markets, this conflict has touched global diplomacy and security arrangements. World powers have reacted with mixture of condemnation, calls for restraint, and strategic recalibration, underscoring how deeply interconnected today's global system truly is. With us today is Sam Nwoko, brings journalistic insight into how these world events are resonating not just across capitals and boardrooms, but also on nations like Nigeria, where economic justice, energy markets, and international policy intersect in profound ways. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning. But before we go deep into this particular topic this morning. Let's listen to Benjamin Netanyahu. 20 years ago, he made a promise, and today it is happening. We'll be back after this break.
But I also have a message today for the people of Iran. You are not our enemy. You are our friends. Shoma duste ma hestid. One day, my Iranian friends, you will be free from the evil regime that terrorizes you, hangs gays, jails journalists, tortures political prisoners, and shoots innocent women like Nida Sultan, leaving her choking on her own blood on the streets of Tehran. I have not forgotten Nida. I'm sure you haven't too. And so, the people of Iran, when your day of liberation finally comes, the friendship between our two ancient peoples will surely flourish once again.
All right, welcome back. That was Benjamin Netanyahu. In 2007, he made a promise. Sam Nwoko, good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewer.
Just because before we talk about the economic impact of this conflict, let's talk about the conflict itself. The liberation Benjamin Netanyahu was talking about 20 years ago. Are we saying it now?
You know, I think one of the best ways to answer this question is to say, let me transliterate my thoughts in Yoruba. It has so many things inside. It packs a lot of layers. It has come in a lot of plies. You know, we'll be removing it one after the other. Yes, it looks like it, because it was the same Netanyahu who spoke that time that is the prime minister today. And beyond that, it has always been a smoldering issue. Since the deposition of the Shah, there has never been a time Iran was not in conflict. However, Iran as a country is building its own capabilities. Then others are also watching and saying, no, you cannot rise beyond a certain level. So over the years, I knew it was going to come. And I think perhaps this is the decisive time. And what a time for it to happen. There are so many other countries who are looking in several other directions. Of course, you and I know that Russia and Ukraine are in their own dugouts. Then Pakistan, which is on the upper fringes of India, and Afghanistan started their own just days after we came and from the Strait of Shamus and a whole lot of things. So from taking attention away from the real thing to the real thing and so on. So perhaps we could say it's the start for, because what they were aiming at is the regime change. And now it's going to take a lot of things. We are going to unpack a lot of things to be able to arrive at that regime change, that so-called liberation Benjamin Netanyahu was talking about 20 years ago.
Now, we also see a video, because some they have considered this to be mixed feelings in Iran as we speak. To some people, especially those Iranians who are not living in Iran as we speak, they're happy that this is happening. But some who are in Iran, they gathered together to mourn the passing of their leader. So how conflicting can this be for the people of Iran? But before you go about it, let's just watch that video where there were jubilations in Australia, in Germany. Iranians outside the country are actually celebrating that this is happening in their country. We'll be back shortly.
Ataque.
All right, that was videos. We saw videos of Iranians, especially those who don't live in the country. They are so happy that this is happening. So what does this mean for Iran as
What
a
is
country?
happening? Now, for me, there are two planks to this. The first is the plank of those who live in Iran. For those who live in Iran, they are, let me use the word subdued. They have to obey the regime. I don't want to say they have to kowtow to the regime. They have to obey the regime. They have to do whatever it is it takes. There have been protests. I remember some protesters who, you know, flung off their head covers and so on and said, look, this is not who we are, and things like that. So for those who are in Iran, you have to be muffled. You have to be restrained in your celebrations. At the same time, you have those who support the regime and those who want to express themselves in mourning what has happened and so on. So you will always have that, especially within the country. But outside the country, we have to remember that Iranians have always said that they are not Arabs, that they are Persians. They don't speak Arabic. They speak Persia. And going back in history, they were not like that. And by not being like that, they feel that undue subjugation of who they are, undue arm twisting of the typical Iranian to behave like some other kind of people will not last forever. And before now, we know there were direct flights from Tel Aviv to Tehran and a few other places in Iran and so on and so forth. So there was cooperation. And that time, the Middle East, yes, conflicts, there were conflicts in certain areas, but it was not as, the tension was not as high as we have it today. So we always have to remember that Iranian people are something they are not. They are not what they are projected to be. Iranians are not Arabs. And I know a few people who had, in the course of their jubilation in the United States, said, look, in fact, some would fling their head coverings and say, yes, now we are back to who we were, and that this should be persistent. That regime change to them is very important because it's like resetting their country, taking it back to what it was, a free democracy which was led by the Shah, and the Shah being the kind of leader they want, who listen to them and so on and so forth. So it makes it a bit different. The Islamic Revolution brought things they didn't want to agree with, and they still felt we do not agree with it, regardless of the oppression, if that's what it is, regardless of the strict rules and the very, very, very stringent measures that were imposed on the people. So that is why you have jubilations in many parts of the world, and even in certain parts of Iran. And again, you also have people who support the administration.
Okay, let's now talk about what has been going on so far. Now, countries following the joint U.S. and Israel attack on Iran, Iran responded by launching a series of missile and drone strikes across the Middle East, targeting U.S., Israeli, and allied military sites. According to multiple news reports, the main countries that were hit or targeted in Iran's retaliation include United Arab Emirates. Missiles and drones hit part of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, including airports and other infrastructure, killing and injuring civilians. Also, in Bahrain, Iranian missiles struck the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet base and caused blasts in Manama. Also in Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and this has continued and continued over and over. Now, these are U.S. and Israel's installations in some countries where they also have interest. So they are not attacking Israel as a country. They are not attacking America as a country, but they are attacking their interests in other countries. That means that some countries who have common interests and common goals with the United States and Israel at this time, they are not safe. Are we going to see more of these attacks? But then, just last night, there was a report that the newly installed acting leader of Iran has reached out to Donald Trump for a discussion. Could that be an end to this old brouhaha?
Well, first, let me take it from there. It's a pointer to a temperance in the conflict. At least it will reduce what is happening to other allied countries which are not directly involved in the conflict itself. So the new leader can do that, and he's taking that step, and that step is going to help in reducing the tension. That's one of the first steps. Then secondly, what Iran did in attacking US and Israeli interests across the Middle East has also increased, it has increased the, I don't want to call it hatred, it has increased the resentment of people for the regime, and they are, the disposition of the affected victims, the disposition of the various people affected is, I told you. I told you these people are not what they tend to be. And again, it is also of interest to know that Iran has, over the years, been accused of sponsoring terrorism across the world, funding Hamas, funding ISIS, funding Hezbollah, funding so many other.
So even Iran does not fight its own wars.
So
they fight proxy wars.
Yes, they fight proxy wars so as to remain a superpower in that region. And now, in order to bring them to whittle them to size, to bring them under control, so to say, and that's what is happening now. Some people have claimed that if Iran had not become what it became, if there hadn't been the Islamic Revolution, Lebanon wouldn't have been in war for many years. Lebanon wouldn't have been in crisis. There wouldn't have been crisis in Syria, which involved Assad and the killings. There wouldn't have been the rise of ISIS, so much that the Gethsemane and all those other places were nearly obliterated. Christians were killed and so on and so forth. So what people are saying is that with the growing influence of Iran in that region, has to be curtailed so that peace can be maintained across board. And that is what it looks like on the outside. But on the inside, there are other interests which many people may not be able to point to at the immediate. Those interests include the kind of things we already know: economic interest, the oil, the control of economic power across the regions.
Military bases.
Yeah, military bases. Because if you, of course, places like Bahrain, Qatar. Qatar has interest. Both Qatar deals with Iran very well. So in all those places, Bahrain, UAE wants to, especially its economic economic hub, which is Dubai. They want to remain and do their business. They don't want to have anything to do with all these conflicts and so on, so that they can run their life the way they want to run it. But Iran will say, no, you have to, behave in certain ways to be able to be accepted. So if these people are looking at a general area, a general Middle East, which is under the control of Iran, it's going to be, the tension is going to keep escalating. And that is why Palestine has remained what it is till today. Part of the reasons why the two-state solution has remained a very, very difficult one, and so on and so forth. So, generally speaking, as it is now, the interests that are shown, especially by the new leader, the young Khamenei, will, to a large extent, bring down the tension and perhaps put a kind of comma to what is going on in the Middle East at the moment. But hey, the affected countries outside Iran, Israel, and the United States would also be on the lookout, because they will not like what has happened to them.
Now, let's talk about, you spoke about the Islamic Revolution and subsequent regimes that has come after that. And some have spoken about suppression of the media. And in history, if we talk about history, according to research on press suppression under the Islamic Republic over the past 4 decades, at least around 30 journalists and writers were killed or died under suspicious circumstances associated with state actions such as executions or covert assassinations. Names documented include authors, editors, translators, and writers whose work challenges the regime. Now, if you are going to talk about names, we are still going to remember Zara Kazemi, Ibrahim Zazadeh,
Salman Rushdie.
These are big names in the industry who some even disappeared under suspicious circumstances.
When this happened, when I wasn't this, let me say, I wasn't as old as this when the issue of Salman Rushdie came. And when people who knew, some elderly people discussed suppression, I didn't understand it. I was just fresh out of secondary school, or just about that. I was still in secondary school. I was still wearing uniform. So I began to ask myself, what is the meaning of, who is Salman Rushdie? So I had to go
research.
Yeah, there was no internet then. So we had to go look for books and began to read newspapers. Anywhere you see, there's a place at Coca-Cola in Songo.
Area.
You know, it's a variety store where they sell Reader's Digest, Time International, The Week, and other foreign magazines. So we'll go there. The man was great, magnanimous enough to allow us sit at a corner and read those books and make sure that you read those magazines and read them without disrupting the, don't make any marks on them, so that he could also still sell them. And later, when I was able to afford past copies, I loved reading them a lot that time. So I began to see why people said, no, this shouldn't be the case. And Salman Rushdie's case was like a metaphor, because it was one of the matters people like Margaret Thatcher took up seriously and said, what is this? And that was a pointer to what we are saying today, that the regime change of that time, the Islamic Revolution, changed the psyche of the people. Oh, no. It couldn't change the psyche of the people. I think they are stronger psychologically than people like us.
Because they have also revolted time and time again.
They kept revolting. They kept saying, no, this is not. Even as we speak now, before the escalation of this conflict, there have been reports of killings of protesters. And the numbers are put at around 40,000. Which to me is a very large number. Sometimes I think it tended to sound as an outrageous figure. So these people have consistently over the years revolted against the regime. Said, look, there have been protests. Some will come to international sports meets and say, I'm not going back. They will defect and say, look, I am not what you are projecting me to be. You know, even some of them are even saying they should revert to the old name of their country and things like that.
Even the flag.
Yes, and the flag. You know, so what this means is that suppression has to be a form of a tool, a very strong tool, to be able to maintain, to oil the regime and keep it alive. And apart from that, they have to build a military power so that when anybody rises,
external interference.
Yes, any external force rises against what the regime is doing, they are going to be able to stand against that external force or external power and say, look, mind your business, let us do our own business. But the world is no longer like that, and this is for a very long time. From the time that should be 1986 or 87, when Libya, Tripoli and Benghazi was attacked, you know, from afar, a remote issue, something that, you know, during Gaddafi and so on, he began to change the worldview about some of these things. And today, what is happening today has been long in coming. Many people know that it won't be forever, because no particular power will reign forever. Even the Shah had to be overthrown. The Shah lives in exile today, and so on and so forth. So maybe we have come to the end of the regime in Iran.
Okay, very quickly, now let's talk about the business angle and what this means for countries like Nigeria. Now, at the center of this crisis, as I said the other time, is the Strait of Hormuz, a passage through which roughly 20% of the world's oil supply is transported each day. And as we speak, disruptions here have already led to sharp increases in oil prices, contributing to inflationary pressures and fears of broader economic instability. Now, how much of a problem will the continuous disruption of operations on the Strait of Hormuz cause countries across the world, especially African countries?
African countries, thank you. You see, when the Russian conflict started, you know, there were fears of what might be, especially in the Red Sea area, and did I say Red Sea? The Black Sea.
Black Sea.
You know, there was a whole lot of fear and apprehension about what would happen in that regard. Now, the Strait of Hormuz, not many people even thought about it. Not many people thought about it. When the Palestinian conflict, Pakistani conflict with Afghanistan broke out, I was surprised. Though, you go look, say, wait till be your own. But I was surprised. I said, why is Pakistan and Afghanistan
starting a war?
I mean, why? What is the trans-border conflict? What is going on?
About?
But I now reasoned and read a few literature and said, okay, Modi, Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister, is of interest in this whole thing. Pakistan is at red alert, always at red alert in India, especially the Kashmir region and so on. And that Strait of Hormuz is one of the areas where the interest is, everybody, their eye open like this, they are like, what nonsense are you? If anybody to buy, share anything, you know, if you raise any kind of, now, in order for the Israeli-American joint operation to, they have to do something about the Strait of Hormuz. I'm coming to the economic impact of all of this. So it means that they had planned something to distract Pakistan from the north, because when they wanted to attack Iran first, Pakistan rose in stout defense of Iran. Pakistan rose and said, like, this cannot happen, and places like Turkey and so on. Now, they had to create a conflict for Pakistan to focus on, to go to its own north and be responding to Afghanistan. And upon a little loss of concentration on the south, where you have the
Iran is attacked,
something now happened. So the economic importance of this, especially for Africa, is now that 20%, the average of 20% of passage that is in that place will now drop probably to like 10%. Look at what has happened to airlines. Look at what has happened to flights, businesses, and so on. In fact, it was pointing towards something like, because the entire Middle East was crippled, nearly all airlines who would have something to do with the countries where this conflict affected at the immediate had to cancel their flights. There was chaos all over many continents. Now, what it means is that if there is a reduction in the passage of the Strait of Hormuz, it means that what you are exporting or importing will be under stricter control. But Nigerian oil does not pass through the Strait of Hormuz, especially. Our own is more like a transatlantic trade to the west and to the south, and in some cases from south it's we do business. When we were doing business with India and some other countries in other Asian countries, it was not like that, and China had to create its own avenue, because it has a very strong links with Southern Africa and so on. So for Nigeria, I don't see it as one big issue. It's going to change our books. Crisis. It's not going to be a major crisis for us. Yes, I don't see it going to be a major crisis for us, but overall, it's going to impact our oil sales. When the Gulf War started, we called something Gulf War windfall. When Iraq and Kuwait were in conflict, a lot of things happened that time when they said, okay, there was huge oil windfall for Nigeria, and that some people had sat on it and so on and so forth. But that is by the way. If there is a windfall now, there is going to be a bigger monitoring of our oil sales, and there's going to be a bigger monitoring of how our oils move. So generally, it's going to affect us, but particularly Nigeria does not have.
Okay, so how would sustained high oil prices mean for developing countries like Nigeria?
Well, sustained oil prices means there will be a tighter dollar control. And if there is a tighter dollar control, it still means the same thing. What you gain from sales, from revenue, you are going to spend because of inflation, because households in America, households in even UK and so on are going to be affected. There's going to be tighter taxing. By tighter, I mean increased. There's going to be more revenue, there's going to be higher inflation. And so what you gain from the left, you use from the right. So that's what it's going to mean. Yes, you may have more oil revenue, it will sound big in the ear, and sound
the
big
other
to,
hand-
but on the other hand, you have to spend it some way because it has to go through some other avenues also.
So compared to what we saw in Russia-Ukraine war, could this crisis disrupt global supply chains in a way?
Yes, definitely, because oil is predominantly, Middle East is the hub of world oil supply and demand and supply. So if the Middle East is the hub of the oil world demand, world's oil demand and supply, it means that if the world's oil demand and supply is disrupted, it's going to affect everybody. That's why I said generally it's going to affect. Even OPEC will have to increase quota for some countries and cut quota for some others, because there is no way countries will stop using oil. There is no way countries will not run because there is a conflict in some other countries. So definitely it's going to affect how oil demand and supply flow. So OPEC will have to rise to certain demands and supply. By demand and supply, I mean OPEC will have to say something. OPEC will have to act in certain ways to be able to fit into the new framework this crisis has brought.
Okay, and now that there's a geopolitical tension across the world, how should African countries position themselves?
Unfortunately, we have always been like
Sitting on the fence.
You know, Nigeria hasn't got an international, a foreign policy. We don't. The nearest thing we have to a foreign policy is what Senator, the Rep Ted Riley had been doing, forcing us to do something about our foreign policy. We don't have a foreign policy. You cannot say this is Nigeria's
Where we
foreign. You cannot say. You know,
so today business with China, tomorrow with India, the next with the United States,
and especially by not having a foreign policy, I'm even looking particularly at this regime itself, this Tinubu regime. You cannot say this is the Tinubu regime's foreign policy. Till now, we don't have ambassadors in over 100 countries. In most countries of the world. The ones that were appointed, they have not even been assigned. The ones that were assigned have not been given letters of credence, and so on and so forth. So whatever it is that is happening, the nearest thing we have to foreign policy or foreign engagement is the so-called $9 million lobby contract we signed with certain United States companies. So because of that, Nigeria as a country and Africa as a nation will always be like the sitting duck which we have always been. We are going to sit there and watch things unfold. As we watch things unfold, we will flow with the tide. So because we don't have a foreign policy and we don't have a tight control of our own destinies, we are going to flow with the tide. So I don't see anything different happening from what had happened in the past.
Is there a diplomatic pathway to de-escalate the current crisis?
Yes, from what the young Khamenei has done, it's like raising an olive branch and saying, okay, let's talk. So I'm sure they are going to offer him a regime change option. If he doesn't take it, the crisis is going to go. Oh, I'm not sure. I think, let me not say I'm sure because I'm not part of the people taking this decision. I think they are going to offer him a regime change or go for an election.
So it means that there's a back channel negotiations already taking place.
Sure, because every conflict always ends at the round table. Even Russia and Ukraine are discussing, courtesy of the United States. When Pope Leo the 14th, that's Pope Leo was elected, the United States was I mean, by United States, I mean Trump. Trump was in Rome during the installation of the Pope. And he had a meeting with Russia and Ukraine, a tripartite meeting. It was a very popular photograph then when Trump sat in one empty room. And so what I'm saying is that there will always be a back channel through which negotiations will take place. And when these negotiations take place, then from there, we will see results. So as it is now, it's hot now. It's still very, very tensed. You know, the tension is still so very high, but it will end up at the round table. And I'm sure countries that have been impacted, you know, because civilian targets and military targets of allied countries of US and Israel have been, those ones that have been attacked, those ones are not going to lie low. They are also going to be part of the negotiations. So we have to look at all these things
put
together. You are going to look at them like a gamut. It's going to come like a team, a cluster of events, and I see it de-escalating in a matter of weeks. I mean, in this week, next week, it's going to be different because the attacks have stopped for now. From what we have,
ceasefire,
kind of. So, but what the regime offers will now determine whether it will continue or it will remain like that.
So, just before we go, are we seeing propaganda and narrative battles alongside military actions?
Oh, that has been on since the crisis started. In fact, long before the crisis started, you will see that propaganda is one of the tools they use, and propaganda has been made easier with and by artificial intelligence. You see AI, people create a lot of videos and send, and you know, that is also part. In fact, that is even one of the major areas of conflict for non-aligned individuals. When you read some of the things that are put out, and when you see some of the videos and some of the materials that are consumed on the internet, a lot of tension. I know people who have been running helter-skelter, trying to see what can happen to, because a lot of people are there in those affected Middle East countries, and they are calling their people and so on. So all those little events also add to the results propaganda bring about, and it will continue. The Israeli propaganda machine is there, the ITF and so on, the Iranian state TV, every one of them, including the ones who are on the sidelines, because there are countries who are on the sidelines who are watching so as to know where to come in.
Okay.
So propaganda will play a very important role in this.
Lastly, before we go, and I'm going to put two questions together all in one. What do you say about some Nigerians who are protesting in favor of Iran? And, you know, this is not the first time, actually. There was a time that Russian flags were being carried, especially in some places in the north. And just when the attack on Iran began, we saw some Nigerians reported to be protesting in favor of Iran against the United States and Israel. That is one. Two, what should world leaders be looking at this time? What should they prioritize? Is it deterrence, is it diplomacy, or economic stabilization?
Now, for the protests, it's a very interesting thing that we will leave our own issues and we'll carry others on our heads. I'm speaking literally. I'm speaking Yoruba English so that we can understand ourselves better. You know, we'll leave our own existing conflicts, we'll leave our existing troubles and carry the trouble of other people in the head. I remember when the vice president went to address the UN General Assembly, and the thrust of his address was Gaza, Palestine. The thrust was not what we are going to do to end
insecurity in the
country. So I felt, no, this is less than expected for me as an individual. I felt this is not good enough. You know, we have that mentality. I've seen a lot of people write about Iran being on its own jeje, and the US and Israel attacking, that the Zionist regime, as they call it, is doing this and that and so on. I'm like, what is your problem? If it is your own protest that will impact those countries, then perhaps they will listen to you. What have anybody said about what happened in Venezuela? Nicolas Maduro is in detention today.
US custody.
In the US. Why hasn't there been a protest in the north? Or in the south, or in the east, or in the south, north central, as the case may be?
So it can basically be linked to religion.
So to a large extent, it's pointing towards religion. And this is not helping us. It's not helping us in any way, because we are just losing. We lose individuals, we lose economically, and even lose respect in all of this. So I don't think it is something leaders should encourage in any way. Sheikh Gumi who is a religious leader, said the Ayatollah died at a very, auspicious time because he died a hero and also died during Ramadan or something like that. Yeah, for him, that's what it is. Okay, it's his opinion. I don't understand that. If I don't understand it, then I don't need to carry it on my head as much as he is carrying it. But the ordinary man on the street who would be handed flags and handed plates to go and beg after being handed flags should be made to understand that these things in the end does not amount to anything for them. But unfortunately, these leaders will not do that. They will not educate the people to understand that you have your life to live and you have to create a country that is conducive for you, because Iran created a country that is conducive for them, or on the other hand, that is why people are revolting, and that is why a conflict has started. So our leaders must find a way to dissuade our people from unnecessary protests. It's so uncalled for and so useless, because I don't see the need and the usefulness of these conflicts except to assuage the human ego. That is as per the protest. For the world leaders, I think they have to get themselves ready for what is going to come. What is going to come is perhaps increased conflict, which is going to affect them economically one way or the other. And when this happens, it's still going to spiral to the average individual, because I have read some people in the United States complaining that wars do not lead to anything other than increased inflation, heightened inflation, which tells on households. And when households are affected, then the people are affected in many ways. So world leaders must find a way to rally around
and look for stabilization this time.
A way to end this conflict as soon as possible, because we cannot be handing Russia, Ukraine, and also be battling the Middle East crisis at the same time, especially escalated Middle East crisis. It will not augur well for the world, and it may lead to some unpleasant consequences.
All right, thank you, Sam Woku, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful session with you. As we close today's edition of The Big Story, the implication of the U.S.-Israel attack on Iran remains profound and unfolding. From volatile energy markets to heightened diplomatic friction and security concerns that span continents, the world faces one of its most complex geopolitical tests of the decade. With daily development affecting everything from oil prices and inflation to geopolitical alliances and security strategies, it is a reminder that local decisions in one region can reverberate globally, influencing economies, political alignments, and the daily lives of people everywhere. Thank you to Sam Woku for joining us and sharing his analysis from the newsroom of the Nigerian Tribune. Stay tuned, stay informed, and join us on Trend Watch shortly for another, of course, conversation where we make sense of a world in motion. Samson Balugo is my name.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominioncast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominioncast. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. And of course, well done to Samson. That was an intense conversation.
Well, good to be back here anyway.
Right. So, but what we have for Trend Watch is actually similar to what you have been discussing. But then I think he's right to take some comment and then fill the pulse of the people about this matter. Yeah. So I have this headline that says Shiite protests in Niger State over killing of Iran's Supreme Leader, Khamenei. And of course, I think I say this all the time that, you know, Karma says something, religion is the opium of the masses, and then if care is not taken, it can intoxicate. And I think that's what's really happening at this moment now, because a lot of Nigerians actually stage a protest, you know, to say, no, Trump should not have done that, you know, why should he have, you know, killed, you know, Khamenei, and not just Khamenei. I think I even read a report that said, you know, the son, and I think the daughter now, and then the daughter, the granddaughter now, and then the son-in-law, they all died in that strike. And of course, I mean, and then the funniest part of this whole thing is that, you know, I watched, you know, about 3 to 4 videos yesterday, and I saw Iranians jubilating. Right. You know, there was a particular video on the street, you know, they were dancing,
even most of them,
happy.
There was a place where Iranians and Israelis were together, simply
exactly, with I saw the flag, and some persons were saying, don't conclude yet to that. We have Iranians and of course but then at the end of the day, we saw videos, and then even a particular woman, you know, came out to say that, you know, she's really happy that today is the best day of her life. You know, the fact that, you know, Khamenei was killed. At the end of the day, but there's one thing I remember. This was the same way that Libyans celebrated when Gaddafi was assassinated. At the end of the day, good luck to the Iranians. And of course, no, good luck to Libya as well. We know what, you know, Libya is saying currently at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I just hope Iranians know what they are doing.
Well, I want to believe, you know, these two cases are different. For Libyans, most of them would want to see that as a mistake, you know, what happened at that time. But for Iranians, the Islamic regime has been more or less like, we have seen athletes, Iranian athletes travel abroad and then they stay there, they seek for asylum, they don't want to go back home. And that never happened under Gaddafi. In fact, Libyans were so happy that Gaddafi was president, especially with basic amenities. There was power, there was, you know, a lot of things was just going the right direction until the Western politics started playing in Libya. And one wouldn't really want to talk about that. But let's talk about Nigerians who left their own issue, just like Sam Woko said earlier. They left their own problems unattended to and decided to, you know, focus on what is going on globally. It's always good to be concerned, especially when it affects you one way or the other. The Shiites have their spiritual, just like some Muslims go to Mecca, go to Saudi Arabia. The Shiites go to Iran. That's where they go. That's their spiritual home. And they believe that the leader of their own religion is from that particular part of the world. And it's not out of place for them to actually feel that way. The problem is, just like you said earlier, religion has been, some Nigerians, they have been calibrated and recalibrated to focus on unnecessary things. If their leaders have told them, oh, why don't you focus on this rather than that? I think they would see it from a different perspective. But what has religion turned Nigerians to is what we should. In fact, the northern part of the country should be, just like the US considered Nigeria as a particular place of interest, the northern part of Nigeria should be considered a particular place of interest. But then let's take one or two comments.
Yeah,
and then
before we go
this one. Right. Let's feel the pulse of the Nigerian people. Okay?
Yeah, so Technos Timmy saying, I wouldn't be surprised to see a mammoth crowd of Northerners protesting against the death of Khamenei, the Iran supreme leader. I just hope they prove me wrong.
Well, Prince said people will suppose find food chop. They use their last card, print poster, sewing flag too.
And of course, Akio Markin saying they want to start that's a bit too harsh to read on TV, really. But the person is just not in support of whatever it is that is going on.
There.
Right.
Lastly, let's take one more comment. You need not be a prophet to be able to predict them. Like someone already knew that was going to happen.
Exactly.
Well,
so at the end of the day, just like I understand the parts that a lot of protesters actually died. People died because of whatever it is that the leader was doing at that time. And I remember the back and forth between Trump and Khamenei, and at the end of the day, he lost his life.
Well, it's a fine place to leave that conversation. We say thank you for joining us on the show so far, and do well to link up with us again tomorrow. Same time, same station, same host. Samson Balog is my name. Keep being good out there. Keep being safe. Bye for now.
Okay, just like I said, do well to join us tomorrow for another edition of Daybreak Live. My name is Oluwayemi Adela. I'm saying good morning and please be safe.